Thank you for joining me for this presentation. I recently spent a few days in Prague in the Czech Republic, and I came across a modern wall that reminded me of the megalithic walls in Machu Picchu in the Andes Mountains in Peru. When I traveled on the hilly streets of Prague, I saw several embankments and retaining walls that were made of stones of different sizes, but which had been shaped to fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. This photograph was taken along the wall of a lock in the Vltava River. Although the stones were not big enough to be called megalithic, the way that they fit together is reminiscent of the megalithic structures in Peru. One big difference is that the stones in the lock were joined with a thick layer of mortar, whereas the stones in Peru do not use mortar. The mortar between the stones in the Prague locks assures that the water will not penetrate the walls and cause structural damage. The Czech Republic adopted Czechia as its geographical name in 2016. The official name of the country remains the Czech Republic, but Czechia is now used for maps and government business. Czechia is in Central Europe, surrounded by Poland, Slovakia, Austria, and Germany. Prague is the capital city of Czechia, and it has a population of about 1.4 million. Prague is known for its Old Town Square, which is lined with colorful Baroque buildings and Gothic churches. The buildings were constructed over hundreds of years, but they have been modified to meet many modern standards. However, spiral staircases are still very steep and narrow. Many of the streets in Prague are paved with cobblestones. Riding a car on these streets makes a lot of noise and shakes your whole body. Prague has always been a great cultural center. Albert Einstein served as a professor at the German University in Prague from 1911 to 1912 while he worked on his theory of general relativity. During my stay in Prague, I visited some of the notable architectural attractions and I took an evening dinner river cruise. The Vltava River, also known as the Moldau River, is the longest river in the Czech Republic. The water locks and canals of Prague are used to control the Vltava River's flow for navigation and flood control. 4 locks were constructed between 1911 and 1922 to regulate river levels and facilitate navigation. A stone arch bridge commissioned by King Charles IV was built between 1357 and 1402 to join the two parts of the city. The Charles Bridge was put in service 627 years ago. Currently, Prague has 18 bridges that span the Vltava River. The brightly lit structures along the river cast shimmering reflections on the waves made by passing ships. The buildings are illuminated at sunset and remain lit until late at night. I took this photograph of the wall of a lock in the Vltava River when my cruise ship stopped in a lock of the river. The lock is long enough to hold a large ship and has an upstream gate and a downstream gate. To go upstream, the ship enters through the downstream gate. The gate closes behind the ship and the water level of the lock is raised about 3 meters to the level of the water behind the upstream gate. The upstream gate is then opened so that the ship can navigate at the higher level. The lock can fill or empty in about 15 to 20 minutes, but the time that a ship spends crossing the lock depends on the amount of traffic in the river. To go downstream, the procedure is reversed. The ship enters the lock through the upstream gate when the lock is full of water. After the ship enters the lock, the water in the lock is drained to match the level of the water behind the downstream gate. The gate is then opened to let the ship out of the lock. For efficient operation of the lock, ships going upstream and downstream take turns going through the lock. Thank you for joining me on this trip to Prague. Don't forget to ask your geology professors to discuss the Carolina Bays because they are the most prevalent geological structures in the Atlantic coastal plain. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to be notified of future videos on a wide variety of topics.